So, after months, nay years of speculation, it turns out that I, in fact, of course, obviously, was right. That's right. So for the past half year or so, maybe longer than that, I've been talking, well, in fact, I think it started midway last year. I've been talking about the prevalence of foreign barbershops and general foreign businesses in British town centres where otherwise local businesses keep having to shut down because the rents are too high, business rates are too high, not enough foot traffic in these town centres anymore to make it a viable business to be able to keep your doors open. So how is it that all of these barber shops and nail salons and phone repair shops and other places are able to keep their doors open? Now, the speculation for a long time, corroborated by police, has been that a lot of these places are fronts for foreign criminal activity and human trafficking and possibly the drugs trade. And we've actually had, very recently, a news report from jolly old Swindon itself in the Swindon Advertiser confirming it. Now, this isn't necessarily going to go into the whole drugs running aspect of the speculation, but it is going to go into the illegal activity and the fact that there was a barbershop that's been caught harbouring illegal immigrants who shouldn't have been working there and providing them with false documents. Now, I'll just go through this one article. It's not going to be very long, but I think it gives an interesting look at how these people get in to these businesses, how the businesses see their own operations, and also the response when they eventually go through the court systems.
So it is worth mentioning as well that there have been police arrests of people running drugs from like these American sweet shops, for example.
Yes.
And we know that there are lots of these shops. They simply haven't caught up arresting everyone yet. And so that angle, I think, is pretty solid. But this is an interesting one, this story that has come out recently.
Yeah, because also they're not even really from the third world as far as I can tell. The people who were caught seem to be, from what's reported here, Portuguese, which is not what I was expecting.
Our oldest allies have stabbed us in the back.
I can't believe it. You were there for us and you took it away.
Pastor Donata is so nice. Why could you do this to us? Portugal, you are meant to be the chosen one.
Going to be having some words with Portugal, I tell you. But so let's take a read through this. So it starts off by saying immigrants accepted a Swindon barbershop's owner to offer to create fake documents for them so they could work there illegally. Elias Rock, 26, and his 24-year-old brother Elizu, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these names right, but they're criminals, so who cares? Appeared at Bristol Crown Court on Wednesday morning after pleading guilty to possessing illegal identity documents with improper intent. False identification provided Elias with the fake name of David Fernando Garcia, while Elizu was known as Alejandro Fernando Garcia.
So they just went for slightly more
stereotypical names, really, wasn't it? When they worked at Guy's Barbershop in the town centre between December 1st, 2023 and January 23, 2024. So it didn't really take long for them to get caught out on this. So that's at least something. But it makes you wonder, how prevalent is this? And I would hazard a guess that it's a very common thing to happen in a lot of these barbershops. The court heard that the barbershop owner, Guy Awazi, proper British name right there, had made the false Spanish identity cards for the siblings. Rachel Stitt, prosecuting, said Mr. Awazi recalls them asking for training and or employment. He advised the defendants that ID was needed and that he would create these documents. The defendants agreed and allowed their photographs to be taken for the creation of these documents. Immigration officers attended Guy's on January 24th, 2024, and spoke to the defendants, one of whom introduced themselves as Alejandro Gonzalez. That's a different name. He couldn't even get his story straight. In February, the documents were reviewed and considered to be counterfeit. While the defendants enabled the creation of the documents, they did not assist in the manufacture of these documents. So this is where you're going to start to get the pushing of the narrative here. Well, they were just sweet, innocent boys. They just wanted work. Consider the circumstances. You wouldn't leave them to die on the street and starve and freeze to death, would you? It was the middle of December.
You wouldn't condemn them to live in Portugal in the sunshine, where lots of Brits go to retire, and it's really nice, and they have good food and good weather, and, you know, everything is nice.
I couldn't even allow such a harrowing thought to enter my mind. Good God. In February, a Portuguese interpreter attended court so that the defendants, who have no previous convictions, could understand what was said during the hearing. So presumably they can't speak or understand English. Exactly the kinds of people we want coming into this country. Their solicitor, Ravindra Chandrapala, who I'm sure has no kind of ethnic or racial bias in this case, said they both accept what happened was illegal and wrong. See, they feel bad about it. They both came to this country when they were 20 years old from humble beginnings. We are all human. Survival comes to mind, a roof over your head and food in your stomach. They wanted nothing other than to work, and they worked and were exploited. Neither of them did anything wrong except work illegally with false ID. This is not a case where they have gone around mugging people or selling drugs. All they did was work in a way that was against the rules and broke the law. They were charged £300 for renting a chair in the barber shop. The owner owned the property while they were allowed to live and charged them £500 in rent. So this is interesting because that reveals how some of these places are going to be operating, which is the reason that they can get away with having basically no foot traffic into some of these barbershops, having them empty all the time, is because the money is not coming from actual business coming through the door. It's coming from essentially harboring these people and charging them quite a lot of money to get to stay there. So I can only assume that these people either were ending up owing this money to this guy, because I can't imagine that they were making that much money through barbershop work over the course of a month and a half, or it just not got to the point yet where they needed to pay him back, which raises the question, what would happen if they couldn't raise it back?
It's also worth mentioning as well that I know this barbershop. I've not been there before, but it's near the Swindon Football Club's county ground, and it's just around the corner. It's close to a main road, so I've driven past it quite a few times. And the building that it's in, I imagine, has sort of, it's got the barber shop in the bottom and then, a flat on top.
Ignore that.
That's very smooth. A flat on top. But I imagine that flat on top is not very big for £500 in rent. And I imagine if it's two of them, they're probably sharing that. So he's making quite a tidy profit off of what amounts to probably quite substandard living arrangements.
And also consider that there's the extra £300 per chair.
Paying to rent a chair, I don't really understand that.
Well, I would assume that you rent the chair out and they get whatever money that they get when they get hair appointments from people. But I would imagine that a part of that profit also gets siphoned off to the owner because, of course, it's his barbershop, so he can do what he wants. And if you don't pay up and if you don't do any of that, well, then he can probably just hand you in anyway.
So I think part of the way we disincentivize people from doing this sort of thing is just like, look at what happens to you. You get taken advantage of.
Yeah, you've taken advantage of our system and decided to break the rules, and the people who facilitate that are also not exactly moral people. They will be happy to take advantage of you the same way they're happy to take advantage of the host country that have taken them in. Guy Awazi, I'm presuming, is legally in this country. See how he repays us for our generosity and allowing him to come over here and live. He's going to facilitate people who shouldn't be here to work in jobs that legally they shouldn't be allowed to work.
Well, many of the people that come here don't actually see it as a privilege. They see it as they deserve to be here. It's their birthright to move to Britain and exploit our country and take advantage of the British people.
Yeah, well, all more reason not to let them in. Excellent. When the owner was approached, it carries on, he suggested, I've had a visit from immigration in the past, lads, so at the very least we know that these people are being kept watch. If you want to work, you'll have to have a document. They don't speak English. They're young in a foreign country. Would they have had the capability to manufacture something like this? They say the barbershop owner is the brains behind it, which is consistent with the evidence around this. They're an absolute delight to have in conference. They're extremely polite and nice, and they did not try to fight the issue. Elias's partner is heavily pregnant, so presumably she was living in the tiny little flat above as well. And he is concerned about what will happen to her if he goes to prison. He wants to look after his partner, and his brother wants to help. It's a fantastic family unit. So they're bringing family values into the country. So this is a form of special pleading where you're diminishing the amount of responsibility these people have, taking away their own agency for having broken the law and broken the rules. Well, they weren't the ones who printed the documents personally, so can they really be held responsible? All they wanted to do was work. You're basically treating these people like they're retarded children.
But you could also argue, well, it wasn't me that made the gun that shot someone, so don't prosecute me.
Exactly. The fact is, we have rules, we have laws, and you need to stick to those laws, and you can make all the special pleading that you want, but unless somebody has literally put a gun to your head and coerced you physically into breaking the law,
cut hair or
or else, then sorry, you are to be held responsible. And if they're a fantastic family unit, that's brilliant, because what we can do is deport them, and they'll all have each other for support, and they'll have that strong family ties to get them through the hardship of going back to Portugal.
I mean, if you want to deport me to Portugal, just for a short period of time,
maybe 2 weeks during the summer.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I'm more than happy to make the sacrifice.
Oh no, Portugal's decided to repatriate me right as the weather's starting to turn. Oh no. They carry on. There's a lot of discussion about illegal immigration, but this is a different category altogether. I'm not trying to jeopardize future applications to the Home Office for them to stay here. So there you go. You've got foreign lawyer representing foreign criminals who is actively trying to aid them in staying here after they've already been caught breaking the law. Imagine my shock. The prosecution's application for the defendants to pay £1,200 in court costs was dismissed due to their financial situation, so they got away with it. Judge James Townsend, KC, explained the defendants were being sentenced for very foolishly using false documents to try and evade the immigration authorities in this country. He went on to say that the prison sentence was usually imposed in these sorts of cases, but would not be now because the Rocks had already been in custody for 50 days and making the documents was not your idea. They must each carry out 80 hours of unpaid work in the next 12 months and pay £114 to fund victim services. So they got away with it.
Unpaid work was the whole problem in the first place, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In a sense.
I suppose the court decided, well, I mean, if Mr. Awazi was getting away with it, why can't we? The Judge James Townsend sits down in the barbershop chair, just a little off the top, boys. But seriously, so they got away with it. And as far as I'm aware, there's no report as of yet about what's happening with Awazi, the guy who facilitated all of this in the first place. So we'll see if anything happens with him. But honestly, I doubt it, because as you can see right at the bottom here, the legal system, how we actually deal with people when they've been caught breaking immigration laws, is incredibly lax. No consequences have come to these people except for the fact that they're getting 80 hours of unpaid work, and generally, it seems, a lot of sympathy from the court system that should be punishing them. So our court system is pathetic, but goddammit, I was right.
Hi folks, thanks for watching. If you'd like to support us and you enjoy the work we do and you want to help us keep the lights on, because of course we're demonetized on YouTube, go over to lotuseast.com, sign up for only £5 a month, and go and watch some of the amazing premium content there, such as Connor Tomlinson's interviews with fascinating people. He has previously interviewed ex-Prime Minister Liz Truss, but recently he has interviewed Mary Harrington, a kind of dissident feminist who recognises, as we do, that we are being governed by a uniparty and the state of affairs needs change. Also, while you're at it, go and follow us on Twitter at lotuseaters_com, and we will see you soon.